Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and today I want to talk about Doctor Who. Specifically, more speculation to do with Jenna-Louise Coleman's upcoming character in Doctor Who. We know that she showed up in Asylum of the Daleks as Oswin Oswald, and of course, she's going to be showing up as companion Clara. Now, I've had theories. A lot of people have had theories. I mean, my big one, that has gotten dismissed by several people and also sort of has been in line with other people's thinking as far as her potentially being a time agent, and she's in a Dalek test selector. Well, of course, that's one theory. Another theory is maybe she genuinely was a human turned into a Dalek, and of course, maybe she temporal shifted and, got out of there and we're going to run into her again, like the Doctor meets her again at some point in her future or something like that. Or maybe even the character's past, kind of akin to River Song, and it'll be building up to the Doctor saving her. But as for some recent spoilery information that has come out about some filming to do with Part 2 of Series 7, which I want to warn everybody right now, if you're watching the video, I am going to sort of spoil some of this for you. I mean, if you've seen my previous theories and some of the posts I've made over on the Facebook Doctor Who fan sites, which you can find all linked below, then you're not necessarily going to be completely spoiled, but essentially what this news describes is that the current episode that is filming is actually some point in modern-day Earth. And we know that one of her other appearances is actually going to be taking place in Victorian England. Now, the thing that's very interesting about this is everybody kind of thought that she'll meet the Doctor in Victorian England, and then this modern-day episode actually takes place at a later time. Like maybe it's the next episode after that, something to that effect. And it seems that there's a whole lot of timey-wimey stuff going on that can't necessarily be accounted for because it seems as though this is a later appearance of Clara, yet she doesn't know things like the TARDIS, and she's not familiar with the Doctor exactly. And so it's all new to her, and that doesn't really add up. It doesn't make sense if she's already met the Doctor. You see what I'm saying? So essentially that has led a lot of people to theorize outside of the box, which is something that I've been saying. We're having fun here, speculating, theorizing. What could her character be? What could it all amount to? Is she in any way related to Oswin? Well, perchance, because a new theory that really has me excited, frankly, is the Scaroth theory. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with Scaroth, this is a character that goes all the way back to the classic series episode City of Death, one of my all-time favorites. Tom Baker as the Doctor, Lalla Ward as Romana, and Scaroth was essentially the last surviving of the Jaggeroth. He crash-landed on Earth, and his ship got blown up, essentially, and he was scattered throughout time, throughout different periods in time. And when you would see his human form, it was played by the veteran actor Julian Glover, who you may recognize from the Indiana Jones film The Last Crusade. And, he just had a very ominous performance even back then. This guy plays villains well. And he's a very memorable villain because, when he pulls off his flesh head and he reveals this sort of green Brussels sprout with one eye in the forehead, it's hilarious and terrifying depending on what age you are. And I just remember being absolutely fascinated and taken with the idea that all of these versions of himself, they are all essentially the same being, but they are splintered throughout multiple timelines and things like that. I mean, you see a sort of ancient Egypt version of him. You see a version of him in Renaissance Italy. You see a version of him far off into the future. And my only complaint with City of Death is I would have loved to have actually seen the Doctor explore this a little bit more, see some of these other, versions of Scarleone, which was what he was called in his human form, but, Scaroth. I would have been really fascinated to see that. Well, the latest theory with Oswin is kind of falling in line with that maybe we're going to see a little bit more investigation into that kind of storytelling where essentially the Doctor is meeting all of these different versions of Clara, whoever Clara ends up being, and whether she's the product of Oswin, maybe she did temporal shift as a Dalek, got blown up, got somehow reformed into a human, and in a sort of paradox cataclysm through time, got splintered and ended up everywhere, at once. So, I mean, this is just one theory, but it's actually a really exciting one to me. The only thing that I could see being the downside of this whole thing is if every single episode we're going to have a scene where the Doctor meets Clara and she doesn't get it. She doesn't get who the Doctor is. She doesn't understand the TARDIS. It could get really daunting to have to sit through the scene time and time again every single episode. And really, one other thing I wouldn't be too thrilled with is if it turns out to be a sort of whole nother play on the River Song thing. I mean, meeting her out of sequence and stuff like that. I hope it doesn't get too wrapped up in that. I hope there is a methodology and it's much more easy to understand. And I really think that Jenna is going to bring a presence to the screen that we're going to be all swept away with. I mean, when you see her in Asylum of the Daleks, whether you liked that episode or not, you have to admit she really made her presence felt. She was a great, delightful presence on screen, and I've seen some clips of her and other things as well, which just, it astounds me. I'm so excited to see what she's going to bring to the mix. The Time of the Pawns is, whether you like it or not, over, and it's about new beginnings, and we're starting over this whole love affair between the Doctor and a companion. And I don't mean that literally. I don't mean romance between the Doctor and a companion, but I mean the ride for us, the viewer. It's all starting anew, and we're all going to be jumping on board for it. And I think Jenna-Louise Coleman is going to bring some great things to it. And I definitely think Stephen Moffat is capable of weaving just a miraculous, awesome story. I really hope that he is up to the task, because, of course, there are some detractors as of late, myself included, on certain aspects, with some of the first 5 episodes that have began Series 7. And I really hope he's on his game, and I really hope he just delivers with whatever the mysteries are behind this character. I hope it unfolds, and it's just awesome. So, essentially, I just wanted to discuss with you guys this new theory that could be, Clara is a bunch of different people. She's literally scattered through time, if that ends up being the case. And I think that's really exciting. And so I'd love to hear from you guys. Is this better sounding to you than the Time Agent Dalek Tesselector idea? Is it better than just her being a Dalek? Because I think that could have afforded some very interesting things as well. If the Doctor was actually traveling with a reformed Dalek, that could be very intriguing as well. So, yeah, I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below or as a video response. What do you think about Clara? Do you think she's splintered through time? And would that be something you would be really excited to see? Or are you kind of meh by the end of it? And so for now, that'll be it for me. I hope you're all doing well, and I'll catch you later. Peace.